if you start at the back, you're going to lose a few seconds. So I don't want to lose seconds, I need them.
We need whatever we can get. Some months ago, I received a photo. It was from a man who'd spotted a runner in a jog on top at his local park run. It turned out the runner in the photo was 82 years old. And to make matters crazier, he'd only been running for slightly over 12 months. His name was Richard. At the age of 80, Richard Brisley took up running. Fast forward from the photo, and I found myself in Richard's living room to talk to him about how it all started.
You look at the professional runners and what they do and think, no, there's no way an old boy like me could do that.
Moving through his 9th decade on the planet, Richard has a unique perspective on his running.
For my age, what would be the best for my body?
As well as sharing some of the experiences he's had mid-race.
I asked her what sort of time she did, because I'm sort of with her, and she said 43 something. And I thought, no, I don't think so. I think I'll push on a bit. So I said, it's been nice to see you. And I shut off and I finished.
Richard brings the fresh enthusiasm of someone who is just discovering the slings and arrows of the world of running.
When I was at Ashford last week, I put 2 tops on because I thought I needed them, and I was well over the top with heat. I was too hot. Yeah, in fact, when I took my hat off, it was dripping.
Oh, wow. We talked about the concerning moment during a 10K, which forced Richard to have some time off running.
I'm going to fall on my face. So I grabbed the fence with my left hand, which I cut as well. Then I'd got scratches and blood pouring out.
And touched on some of his memories of World War II.
I saw the fear in my mum's eyes, though. I remember the fear in my mum's eyes.
As the oldest guest to ever appear on Jog On, this conversation was a real privilege, as Richard showed that later life doesn't have to always be done sitting down or even walking. If you're interested in running a faster 5K, have a look at the Jog On website. This is jogon.com, where you'll find our 5 best tips for a faster 5K. And it's completely free for you to download. Go check it out at thisisjogon.com. So please, welcome to Jog On, Richard Brisley. You start running quite a bit later than a lot of people. What's the moment that you all of a sudden think, I think I might try running? Why did you start?
Well, my wife Judy used to run all the time at the park run in Ashford, and my boy did as well. And Siobhan, my daughter-in-law, was running, but then she had a little baby Shay, and she couldn't run. So I thought, well, I'll go and push the pram with Litland in. And I went up to Ashford and was, quite happy. And people kept coming up and looking at the Litland, and I'm talking to them. And I thought to myself, well, this looks good. I'm sure I could give this a go. And I mentioned to Judy, I would like to do it. And she said, right, well, let's do a little bit down here. So locally on the marsh, I did a few runs, and the breathing was the problem to start with. I found it difficult to breathe properly, but Judy got me going a bit further. And I eventually finished the 5K. And then we went up to Ashford Park Run in the week, and I ran the course on 2 separate days to see if I could do it, and I did. And then I thought, well, I'll do the park run, and I didn't do it. And my boy said to me, don't keep saying you're going to do it, do it.
Right, yeah.
So that was it. I did it. And I did it on the 22nd of May, 2022, and I did a time of 43:24, something like that.
Yeah, 1 second. 43:23 I've got
Yeah,
down.
it was something like that anyway, yeah. And once I'd done it once, my confidence was there. And the camaraderie of the people was really great. You know what I mean? I mean, they found out that I was an old boy. They were going to eventually. But they seemed to like that. And therefore I then spoke to a lot of people and tried to encourage them as well, which I still do to this moment.
Well, I think people really get behind it because they're very celebratory or great at being celebratory of someone running at your age. For them, it's an exciting prospect. Yeah. And I think it gives people hope. They go, oh, I hope I can run at that age as well.
Well, I think a lot of people could, but you've got to give it a go. You've got to have the incentive to do it. It's very awkward, really. I mean, there's a lot of it's in the mind. And a lot of it is you could be sitting on settee and thinking, no, I don't think I can do this. But if you was to get up and do a few exercises perhaps, and then know somebody who's into running, you might get away with it. I advise anyone to have a go.
You mentioned the fact that when you started this running, it was your breathing that was difficult. Did that improve over time as you ran a bit more? Did your breathing get better?
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing I do, which is very strange, I count 1 to 100. Wow. And then 1 to 100, and then 1 to 100, 1 to 100, and I keep doing that all the time. Which takes my mind off of thinking, can you do this? Are you painful? Does it hurt? It gets me by.
So what was that first experience like at the parkrun? Was it anything like you imagined? Were you surprised that people were very welcoming? Was it was there a concern that maybe it would be a bit sort of competitive, or there would just be a lot of people there? What was the experience like of doing it?
Well, I was very lucky, really, because Judy had been doing it for a long time. So people knew Judy, and then she introduced me as her husband. So therefore, I had sort of stole a little bit of a march, really, where people sort of accepted me.
Yeah.
And it was very nice. But everybody had been so nice. And after a while, I thought to myself, I'll become a marshal. So I've done a marshal's job 10 times now at Ashford.
Fantastic.
Which I've enjoyed doing because I know what you're going through as a marshal and as a runner. So it's quite good. Yeah, I love it.
So you run the 43:23 that day.
Yeah.
And then over time, you sort of get the bug for it, I think it's fair to say. You start coming back and doing them repeatedly. Did you find that your time started getting slightly better as you improved?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And also my fitness levels were better. I did run into odd things like a knee pain, which I had to suddenly work out the best way to get rid of that so I could still run. And slight by the glutes there was just a little bit painful, but managed to sort of get over that to get myself fit enough for the weekend. But once I did that, the times were coming down, and I got to a level where I got my time down to, I forget what it was. It was 38:21, something like
That's
that.
38:21.
Which I was really pleased, and I knew I could push a bit more, but unfortunately I had a few little injuries and niggles and things I couldn't get over instantly, so I've had to start again, really, but I'm going to do it. I'm getting back slowly but surely.
Absolutely. I mean, your recent time this year, you've got incredibly close to 40, so you've already proven that you're on your way back down.
Yeah, definitely,
You've had that reset.
Yeah.
In between those park runs, what did your week look like in terms of training? Were you just going out for a couple of steady runs? What were you doing to get fitter between the park runs?
Well, I've sort of worked out for my age what would be the best for my body. You look at the professional runners and what they do and think, no, there's no way an old boy like me could do that. So you work out what you would do for yourself. With Judy's help, she advised me quite a bit. So what I do is I do the Saturday park run. Sunday, we don't normally run, but we might go for a walk. Mm-hmm. On Monday, I would go for a 5K or around the circuit here, which is 7.5K, and on an odd occasion, a 10K. I'd do that. Tuesday, I'd work out indoors. I've got a bicycle in here and bands and things to work out. Wednesday's Shay Day. That's our little grandson, which is the worst workout you could ever have. You're tired afterwards. Thursday, I'll probably do a 5K at a very slow pace. Run slower to get faster, perhaps, is the theory. Friday's a rest day and then back to park run on Saturday. And normally I try to keep to that.
Yeah, fantastic.
To be honest with you.
To get some consistency and some routine to it as well.
Yeah, I think it does work. And then on odd times, I can't run fast. I can't suddenly put a big spurt on to get ever so fast, but I'll get a bit faster. Mm-hmm. So every so often I'll do, I don't know, a couple of minutes slow and then try and do a little burst. But I'm not a fast runner, it's just what it is. You do what you can.
And the longest run you'll go up to, as you just said, is around about 10K would be the longest?
Yeah, I've done a little bit more, but it's normally about 10K.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent training for the distance you're working towards with the 5K, the park run. That's a great distance to work towards. Yeah. And we talked about the breathing. Obviously, one of the things that changes when people start running is there's quite a bit of impact through the body, and it takes a little while for the muscles and the tendons to get used to that.
Definitely.
Have you found that your sort of leg strength has got a little better? Do you feel like part of your fitness you've got a little stronger because of it?
I think so, yeah. I think my main problem is two toes, one on each side, one on one foot and one on the other. I have problems with them. I think it's to do with the fact of getting old, your circulation's not quite so good. So what I have to do is wrap them up and sometimes wear 2 pairs of socks just to cushion it. But generally speaking, I've done it and managed to sort of do it and not have any problems. But I have to do that, yeah.
And then just diving back a little bit, Richard, have you always been quite fit through your life? I know you've played quite a bit of football, etc. Yeah. You've had quite active jobs. Your career has been quite physical. Yeah. So have you always been quite a fit person?
I have, but I suppose one has been lucky as well. Mm. You must be lucky. I've never had a major situation at all, a hospital or anything. They've only been very minor little things. So I've been lucky, but I've worked at it. And I think in our modern day, the way we're going, if unfortunately something did happen, you would have a job to get to there in time. So therefore, if you keep yourself fit, you might not have to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's the theory of it anyway.
Did you ever run in the past, or has this really been a sort of a whole new thing for you?
When I was Ashford North Modern Boys School, and I was probably, let me see, how old would I have been? Not very old really, 11, 12, about 13 or 14.
Yeah.
I did a 5-mile cross-country run and come 5th in the whole school.
Wow.
But it took me a good half an hour to actually get it back, because I was actually give it everything I got, and I was absolutely out of it. And I felt really ill for a long time.
But 5th perhaps showed a little bit of potential, that maybe there was something there, that there's a background that maybe you had this just slight ability to run reasonably well, to place that highly.
Yeah, don't forget, when I was born, it was just wartime and after the war. And when it was all sort of the war was done and we was back to peacetime, I used to run everywhere. That's one thing I did do. I remember it. I used to run up the shop. I used to run every day, do this. And I did run. I've always been quite active. I've never been one for just sort of walking, really. You ask Judy now, I mean, she's something, slow down, you know what I mean? But that's how it is.
With the running that you've taken up so recently in the grand scheme of your life, Richard, what is it particularly about it that you've enjoyed? Is it the community aspect, or is it the sort of the getting fitter, or is it chasing times? What do you get out of running? What do you enjoy?
Well, one of the things is to support my wife anyway, Judy, because she's well into it. You know, she's done up 230 odd or whatever it is.
It's amazing.
And she's looking forward to a 250. And I go with her, which is good. And I think it's the fitness, but the camaraderie is phenomenal, meeting people. I mean, in my job, working as a plumber, and then I was a pipe fitter working all over the place. In fact, I worked all over the world as it happened. But in refineries, I was running a job down at Fawley Oil Refinery, which is Southampton way.
Yep.
And there was 1,000 men there. There was only 3 of us running the job. And so I was used to working with people. So it's not a problem really, and I like it. And I remember working away, and I've walked into certain establishments, and I've suddenly made friends with people, and they didn't even know who I was. You know, I'm like that. It's just how I am.
It seems to me that one of the things that's becoming clearer when we talk about what keeps people healthy is both body and mind. And it seems like the running aspect of it, as well as keeping someone fit and virile, it also, I think it's quite important that on that Saturday morning, you're getting to have a few conversations. You're getting to say hello to a few people.
Yes, definitely.
That must feel like that keeps you in touch and connected.
Yes. Well, when we did Dover about 5 weeks ago, we went down there. I mean, it's quite cold and everything. And the first thing was a lady turned up to park a car, and we was asking her about where we park ours and that, which was the first person we spoke to, and she was very friendly. Then we went to where the mass of the people were, and we was talking to quite a few people there. And during the run, at the time, there was a family with little children and that, and he spoke to me, I spoke to him, and then we had quite a conversation. And when we finished and it was all over, they came up and we stood there, Judy and myself, talking to him. And we was talking like old friends, really. And he was saying, oh, that was a good run, wasn't it? And then we, just discussing what we'd been through, which was really good. It was really nice.
And it's exactly that. You talk about you mentioned there about what you've been through. And there is a shared experience that we've all gone and pushed ourselves and run this 5K together. It connects you with people in a strange way.
I think you're right, yeah. People they're so nice. In fact, I mean, people all know my name now. Which is funny, as I cross the line.
That's
so,
great.
Well done, Richard, you know what I mean? Oh, thank you very much, as I'm sort of gasping.
Yeah. I think that's one of the elements that people are starting to wake up to a little bit more, is that just having some contact with people, because it is so easy these days to sit in a car, drive to a job, then come back again, and then not realise that you've only seen the same 3 people in that office. Or maybe if you work from home, you might not be seeing anybody. So.
No, that's true. Yeah, it's surprising the people that I know now, up there, and they all come up and talk. I mean, it's like Paul Collins and Linda. I mean, we've just met them impromptu out of the blue, really, took a photograph, and that was it. And then since then, we've seen them lots of places. In fact, they was at the Limb run we did at the zoo.
Oh, wow, okay.
When we're there, they was both there, and lots of other people we meet. And I got a feeling they're going to be there at Ashford tomorrow. Yeah. I hope they are, because it's Linda's birthday today.
It'll be brilliant to meet them.
Yeah.
For people who haven't heard that story, can you just retell that moment when you got recognised in the Jog On Top by Paul and what happened? You told me that Paul came up to you and asked to have a photo. Can you just tell, for people who don't know that story, can you just tell it?
Well, I watched all your videos and we'd watched a hell of a lot of them. All the time. We binged on it, actually.
Amazing.
Yeah, one after the other, We liked them, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have watched them. And I like the colour. I've always liked orange, and orange is great colour. So I thought, I've got to have one. And I said to Judy, I'm going to get one of them. So I got it, and I'm up there.
Yeah.
And I'm standing out, really. And the next minute, this fella come along who looked the part. Believe you me, he did. He looked athletical. Yeah. And he had this top on, and it's got 500 marathons on it. And he said to me, excuse me, can I have a photograph with you, please? And I sort of looking around thinking, are you actually talking to me? Because I'm nobody. And he pointed out who he was, and he pointed out that he knew about Jog On and sort of business. So we had the photograph taken, and that was it, really. And then he said, I'll take a couple of little shots of you running, if that's all right. And of course, I'm thinking, wow, fame at last. So that's what happened. And then he sent them to you, and then it's just gone from there.
When I set up Jog On, there was very much an angle of there was never going to be a sort of, people talk about having a target audience, but to me it seemed quite quickly that it was going to be very far and wide as to which ages would connect with it. And so for me, it's always wonderful when someone, I have people come up to me who are 6 years old, 7 years old, and it's fantastic.
Oh, it's
great.
Amazing. Yeah, it must be good for you, yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. It shows the diversity of it.
And not everyone's got the top. So, we was there, Judy and I were standing there, and a lady came up to me, and she said, the Jog On. She said, it looks good. She said, we watch his videos. And I said, well, why don't you join then? She said, well, we're thinking about it. You can't force people into things.
Yeah.
But, it's brilliant. I think it's wonderful.
So I guess, Richard, it brings us a little bit on to where we're going, which is Dover Park Run. We were originally going to run at Ashford, but that got cancelled.
Yeah, because of the Bowls Club. The traffic was too much for the parking spaces, really, so they had to give it up.
So that's not happening. So we're going to Dover now.
Yes.
And you have actually run at Dover once before.
Yes.
So did you enjoy Dover at the time? What did you think of Dover Park Run?
Well, Judy's always wanted to do Dover. We watched it on YouTube a couple of times, and we thought that looks pretty good, and it looked flat and nice, and it's quite a nice place to go. So we turned up a very cold morning, and we stood there, and it's very picturesque. You run down and back, and then over the pier, which is very picturesque, across the waterway, all the boats and ships and back, and up in the distance you got Dover Castle. And one of the things that's particularly nice is when you go up and back, you can see people coming towards you. So if you've got anyone you know, or say, oh, well done, or, it's really good. And I found I actually slipped into it so easily and felt comfortable. I really did feel comfortable. And I remember talking to a lady as I caught up with her, and I was actually talking, which was rather good for me. And I said to her, do you do this often? She said, yeah, I do it all the time. I'm a local. I said, oh, good. And then I asked her what sort of time she did, because I'm sort of with her. And she said 43 something. And I thought, no, I don't think so. I think I'll push on a bit. So I said, it's been nice to see you. And I shot off. And I finished it in 40:11, didn't I?
40:11.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because we're going to go there tomorrow. So I think what our plan will be is to try and pace you to get inside that 40 again.
Yes, I'd like to. I think if I can get inside of that, I'll be happy. It'll be pushing me back on my journey to get back to what I want to be.
Yes.
And if I can do that there, mind you, it is a fast course, and it's a pretty course, and it's really nice. The atmosphere will be great. And I'm really looking forward to it tomorrow. And I will give it my best shots.
Good.
You know what it's like. You get up in the morning, and sometimes, as I
you're not feeling it.
As I was saying to Louise, sometimes you get up and you're really on it, and other times you get up and think, But I will be there tomorrow. I built myself up for this for such a long time.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
It'll be really good, and I think it's just a case of we can communicate along the way. The way I've always liked to do it is 1 kilometre, 2 kilometres, 3 kilometres.
Yes, I would like that.
You can just say how you're feeling. I think I've got enough to push on, or I need to hold off. It's just we communicate. That's all it is.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, regardless of what happens, finishing is the thing.
Yeah.
As well, you can walk away and think that's another one I've done. That'll be my 72nd.
That's amazing.
So I'll be quite pleased with that.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic.
And I'll be heading towards 100. Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely brilliant. I am really looking forward to it. So I guess one thing to ask you, Richard, is how confident do you feel in breaking inside 40 minutes? Do you think it's very much a toss of the coin, or do you feel like you could break 40 minutes tomorrow?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah, I do think so. Yeah, it won't be for one to try and anyway. Let's put it that way.
Well, like you say as well, it's a nice milestone on your journey back to where you were. As you make this comeback, it's nice to tick that off and be like, okay, I've got back into the 30s now.
Yeah, that would be quite good, yeah. I'd like to do that, yeah.
When you're running the park run and you're moving through, is there a stage during the park run where it feels tougher, but then you feel good for the last kilometre or anything like that? Or does it progressively get slightly more uncomfortable towards the end? Like, what's the hardest part for you?
Unfortunately, I fall into the trap of taking off too fast.
Right.
I do not pace myself very well. One of the reasons is my eyesight isn't too good. Mm-hmm. So if I look at my watch, I can't see it properly half the time. So I do what I can. And sometimes I turn to have a certain amount of energy. And once that's gone, it's gone. And then you just struggle for the last bit and get over the line. I really need to learn to pace myself better. Gary, my son, has told me this many times. Just take it easy. So tomorrow, with your help, we can scale that back and we, start off, just below the 8 perhaps.
Yep.
Absolutely. And then carry on, and then we can talk to each other and see how I'm feeling and going, and you'll be able to advise me. And I'm hoping we can do it between us and get me over the line.
I hope so too. I mean, that's part of my job as pacing you, is to kind of try and set that pace early and hold you in a bit. Do you think you go off a little bit quick because it's the adrenaline and the sort of excitement of the moment, or just the sort of like being carried along by people?
I think it's carried along. At Ashford Park Run, you all start together and it's downhill. And the thing is, if you start at the back, you're going to lose a few seconds. So I don't want to lose seconds. I need them.
So, we need whatever we can get.
So you start with the multitude of people. Sometimes I start with Judy, and she's just gone anyway. Yeah. But then I'm with the people down the hill, but directly turn the corner and the hill goes the other way. I suddenly then think, wow, let's just try and ease down. And I don't do too bad. I mean, the first couple of Ks, not bad. And then I sometimes lose it then. Yeah, I need to pace. That's one thing that I'm not doing well.
Okay, so that's one of the keys for tomorrow, is to set off at a pace that seems sustainable. So I think from my perspective, the plan is for that first kilometre is to set off really in those kind of late 39s, so just inside 40.
Yeah.
And then just sort of hold that and try and get comfortable with that. And then with a couple of kilometres to go, just communicate to me how it's feeling and we'll adjust accordingly, And if you're fine, we'll just stay on that pace.
For a decent run towards the last half K or whatever.
Exactly. And hopefully you can finish, because it is nice to finish a park run feeling like you've run even splits and you feel strong over the line.
Yeah.
The one thing about Dover, possibly, we've looked at some of the forecasts, it's a little unclear, is the wind, because we're quite exposed. So that's the one thing that plays in my mind, is what if we have a lot of headwind? Perhaps I can kind of get in front and try and shelter you a bit or something. When you ran at Dover that time, you were saying it wasn't particularly windy. You had good conditions.
Yeah, the sun was shining and it was cold though. And I think that helped. Another thing is I perspire a hell of a lot. I'm quite soaked when I finish. So the colder, did me good, really, being cold. It wasn't so bad because I had to run to warm up. But when I was at Ashford last week, I put 2 tops on because I thought I needed them, and I was well over the top with heat. I was too hot. Yeah, in fact, when I took my hat off, it was dripping.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, that's one thing, I suppose, you're trying to get those layers right for tomorrow. I mean, at the end of the day, there'll be an effort tomorrow, so I guess it's about wearing the right amount.
I'm just putting 1 top on tomorrow.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and do it in shorts. I've been wearing me baggies.
Yeah.
But I will try with shorts.
Oh, that'd be fantastic, I think.
See if I can, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And my jog on socks, obviously.
Jog on socks, of course. And the cap. Yeah. No, we're going to look like twins, I think. We'll both be in...
I think you're a bit taller than me.
Apart from that, I'll crouch slightly.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I'd like to ask you about, Richard, is because there's not often I get to talk to someone who's an octogenarian. And so it's interesting to get your perspective. You mentioned luck earlier, but when you think about the fact that right now, it's quite clear you're doing very well physically, you're very sharp of mind. So both psychologically and physically, you're doing brilliantly. What do you credit that with? How much do you think it's a bit of a roll of the dice and luck? And how much do you think you've actually actively worked to stay fit and stay communicating with people and stay sharp?
I think, basically speaking, over the years, the job that I've done was technical, and a lot of it, the public's relying on you not to mess up. So you've got to do things right. When you're working in oil refineries, it's dangerous. I mean, when you're on oil rigs, it's really dangerous. So everything you do must be sort of meticulous, really. So therefore, your mindset is to try and get it right. I know I've slipped a bit as you get older because you can't keep the 21-year-old mind. You know what I mean? But I'm not too bad. And I know Judy guides me along when I do which I do at times mess up a bit, but I'm lucky to have Judy anyway, to be honest.
Does the running keep you feeling younger, do you feel?
I think it does, yeah. I mean, I don't want to be sort of rude or anything to anyone else, but it's nice to think that there's people behind me still who are running. And I've had people come up to me younger than me and said, I tried to catch up with you and I couldn't catch you. And it's made me feel really good, I'm thinking, wow, sort of thing. And they're nice people. I talk to them, they come and see me every week, shake their hand, how you doing and stuff.
On our website, thisisjogon.com, you can find extremely high-quality training plans from 5K up to half marathon, which are simple to understand, allow you to set the days in the week to train and get results. Have a look at any of the Jog On training plans at thisisjogon.com. Back to the episode. I think one of the things that's nice is blowing that stereotype out the water as well. There's sometimes I feel like societally, people who get to a certain age can almost be written off a little bit, like, oh, they might just be sitting on a sofa now and watching television. And the fact is, you're proving that that's absolutely doesn't have to be the lifestyle. It doesn't have to be.
No, I think it's your mindset and who you are. Obviously, I mean, we're all different as human beings, aren't we? And some people's mindset's entirely different, isn't it? You've got the ones who want to run break records and be fast, and then you've got the others who just want to get over the line anyway. So I think a mixture of the two is probably a good thing.
Some kind of balance.
Yeah.
As you move forward over the next few years, Richard, while you've got this opportunity to be able to do these park runs, to run, do 5Ks and still be doing so well, not only that, but improving again as you come back, are there any more sort of milestones or goals you want to tick with the running? Are there any times you'd like to hit, or is it just to run for as long as you can?
I want to do a 10K.
That would be great.
But the times that I've been doing it in are not particularly good. And I did see somewhere once that you can do a 10K, but you've got to do it in an hour and a half. I have done it in less than that by a few minutes. So I've got to make sure that I'm confident to do that, just in case one of the runs that I choose has got that. It's possible it hasn't, because they don't all have it. But then if I do it in, hour 25 minutes, I think that would probably be about pretty good for me. There's that one. I want to go back and do the Canterbury one, the Wild Animal Park, which is a charity one, which we did before, and I want to do that again, because you get a medal as well.
Yeah. It's extra motivation.
It is really, yeah. I've got two now.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
And the other one is the Port Lim. I want to do that again where I fell over. So I've got to do that and not fall over this time. And then obviously improvement times, slowly but surely. But what I'm going to do after tomorrow is, when I run, is to just bring the pace down and try and get a proper pace going so that I can run and then increase it at the end, perhaps, rather than the other way round. I think that's what I'm going to work at anyway.
You mentioned the fall there. Obviously, people listening to this, watching this, won't be aware, but there was a situation where you were getting faster and faster, and we got to the 38:21. Not long after that, you had the incident, and you had just picked up a bit of illness as well.
Yes.
Can you talk us through the fall and what actually happened that day when you fell over?
Well, we was at Port Lim Zoo, and it was a charity one, and it was really good. We was all there, and off we went, and we weren't interested in any particular time. It's just finishing really. And we started at the back, Judy and myself, and we run together, and I managed to stay with her. We got into the zoo and we was doing well, and it's uphill and down dale, and I'm staying with Judy and thinking, wow, you're doing well today. And then we went down this particularly steep hill, and Judy's going at quite a lick really, and I'm trying to keep up with her, and my legs, I just could not keep up with her. But I'm going forward, and I thought I'm going to fall on my face. So I grabbed the fence with my left hand, which I cut as well, and it threw me over, and I hit my shoulder, and then I got scratches and blood pouring out. So I picked myself up. Poor old Judy had to stop and make sure I was all right. But we carried on. But she'd organised it. When I did cross the line, the medic was there and wrapped it all up.
Oh, great.
So then, which was okay. I got over that, but then my arm wouldn't move much, and I've had quite a bit of trouble. So I've only just, a couple of weeks ago, finished with the physio. So I have to do the exercises. Yep. But that's another thing. Exercising and workouts is a great thing to keep it fit and thing. If you've got, little pains and that, you can work them off most of the time.
And keeping your muscles strong as well.
Yeah, build it. I've got weights now as well.
Excellent.
To try and do things. I've got my bicycle and I've got rubber bands. and just do things. I wake up every morning and do certain exercises from the shoulders.
Yeah, there's a lot of scientific evidence coming out that they feel that for older generations, that strength work they're valuing it as highly now as they are cardio, because it's just so important, because you can get muscle wastage, as they call it. So we have a lot of instances, in the country of ambulance crews having to go out to pick people up off the floor simply because they don't even have the strength to get up off the floor at the moment. So
no, that's true.
To stay strong gives you a much better just kind of opportunities really for a healthy lifestyle.
And at my age, the thing is, it's possible that you can't improve your muscles that much, but you can stop them getting worse.
Exactly.
And even if you can hold them as they are, it's better than wasting away.
Yeah, it's prevention, really.
Yeah, it really. I mean, it is, and if you don't work at it, you will waste away. There's no two ways about it. It's true.
And they say that it's quite a sort of a quick downward spiral, because something wastes away, then you can't move as much, and then because you're not moving as much, you're not keeping as strong, and so people sort of spiral quite quickly. So
it's very true, yeah.
It's important to keep on top of it.
One of the main things in the running is Judy. She's done a hell of a lot for me and keeps me going. I do have moments, like everybody, a bit doubtful at times of odd things, and she always sorts me out. And she puts a lot into her running as well. So I hope she does it.
Yeah, me too.
And I will give her all the support I can, like she does me.
Brilliant. No, and that's one of the beautiful things about running, is that someone supports you for your run, and then someone else has a run or a race, and then you go down and support them, and it's a two-way street.
Yes.
Were your parents sporty at all, or into much exercise or fitness?
My dad played football. He played for Tottenham Hotspurs when they was in the second division, and I remember seeing him play for the Ashford Railway Works, and it was quite good because he got a team together, and they beat I think it's 5-a-side. They beat 5 of the current Ashford Town football team in the final. And my dad scored a cracking goal with his left foot. I always remember it. You know what it's like. Your dad's your hero, isn't he, at the time at football? Yeah. During the war, our table was metal. And if the siren went, we used to dive under it, or we went to the Anderson shelter down the road. But then we used to look up and see all the German Dorniers going to London all the time, and then you'd see the Hurricanes, they weren't Spitfires, coming up and firing, and it was like watching a movie. And they was taking me down the road, and we was there. But then one night, a German Dornier got shot down, come across the top of our house and crashed in the field. And then I think it was the next night, an American Liberator came down, crashed in the field, and one of the crew was in our house, sitting there, and he had a hole in his leg here, where he had a bullet there, and the blood was out, and Mum tried to wrap it up. I'm on the floor, little kid, and then the next minute the ARP turned up and the ambulances and that, and took them all away, and the only word the guy said was, "Thank you, ma'am." And my mum managed to sneak around and get a little bit of coffee, a little bit of sugar to give him a cup of coffee.
Blimey.
During the war, when there wasn't any produce much. My dad was in the railway, signed on for the Navy, wouldn't let him go because he had to stay in the railway, keep the railway going. So he came home from there, and he was in Dad's army. He's in the Home Guard and stuff like that.
Do you think you had much of a concept of what was happening at the time, or were you so young that you didn't know much different as to what was happening in terms of the war?
The main thing, the camaraderie of the people where I lived in South Willsborough was phenomenal. I saw the fear in my mum's eyes, though. I remember the fear in my mum's eyes. And my mum was she could be quite, I don't know, so bloody Germans, you know what I mean, and stuff like this, because you could get killed, you could be blown up. But we survived,
Was it a long process coming out of the war? Did life take a long time to get back to some sort of normality for people?
Not really, I don't think so.
You found it
No,
quickly
I
moved?
found it, well, being a kid, I was young, and there wasn't any more fear. And then my first banana I had, which I think it cost 6pence, if I remember. And I remember a fantastic sitting in the street party for my first ice cream, which wasn't really frozen properly, and seeing my mum walked out. She had this red, white and blue, like a crowny hat on, and she had this red, white and blue dress, and she stood there with it, and somebody took a photograph, and it was fantastic days, really, and everybody was so pleased that it was stopped. And then, I don't know, I played football and stuff and grew up, went to Sunday school every Sunday of the year, even though I'm not a great religious man, but, you do when you're kids, don't you? And, yeah, just a general person. Nobody in particular, really.
No, it's an iconic time to live through, though, and there's so much history out there on it now, but it does feel like this distant thing, and it's amazing to talk to someone who was actually there while very young, actually living through it. It's interesting to hear a first-hand account.
I mean, I personally think that the time I've had has been probably one of the best times at the moment that you could possibly have.
You've had a great period, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you take it, there was horse and carts on the road. Yeah. All the cars were black, if there was any cars. And then slowly but surely, you know, I mean, and all the motorbikes I've had and stuff and things I did. I used to go to Hammersmith Palais, you know, the rock and roll. I mean, my hair was jet black up here with the big sideburns and, you know, all the gear and everything, tight trousers, all the rock and roll and dancing and stuff. And I got a good memory too, actually.
Well, clearly.
Yeah, apart from what happened just now.
But long term, it's excellent.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Amazing. When you're running these park runs, Richard, this is one of my final questions for you before we wrap up, but when you're running these park runs, how often do you come across someone of your age? Do you find that you're in the minority to be an octogenarian running, or have you met a few people at your age?
There's one guy at Ashford Park Run who is actually a couple of months older than me. I found out the other week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but and I don't mean this nastily, he can't run as fast as I can. So I'm lucky there. But there again, he might not have been doing it that long. I don't know for sure. Yeah. But he's a nice guy. We talk. Then there's another one who's a little bit younger than me, and he tries to catch me. And as it happens at this moment, he hasn't able to. And then there's Edwin, who's he's 79, and he's done 400 or 500 runs or something, 400 and something runs. But he's getting a little bit older now, and he taught me a lot. When I first went there, he was the benchmark. I tried to keep with him and couldn't, but then I overtook him, and now generally I can stay in front, which was a great, I was really pleased.
It's an incentive.
Yeah, but he didn't mind. He helped. He said, well done, you're doing well, which is part of the camaraderie and being nice at park runs.
It's the beauty of it, and I always say it's whatever you want it to be. I never tell people what it is. It's whatever they want it to be, and you can have your own battles in your own head. And ultimately, running always becomes a competition to improve yourself. Ultimately, you fight
yourself, don't you?
It's about self-development. Yes, very much so.
Yeah, at odd times you're going along and you're thinking, I don't know, am I doing so well today or not, and things, and you overcome it, don't you? And different things happen, and yeah. And then there's a very nice one of the chaps there who's one of the guys who helps to run it, doesn't he? What's his name? Michael, isn't he? As I come round the corner, he's at the end, he's one of the marshals, and Judy's gone by before me, and he says, she's just putting the kettle on now, mate, you're getting late. He said, all the biscuits are gone, you better hurry up and catch her up. That sort of camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly.
And he gives me some stick every week. Yeah, I like that. It's really nice.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've found is that when you have even an okay park run, let alone your best kind of 5K run where you feel fantastic, it just sets you up well for the day and for the weekend. I've found that having a good Saturday morning, it kind of energizes you ready. I don't know if you found that, but it sort of makes you able to take on the weekend a little bit more because you've started it so well.
Very much so. I remember when I was one of the marshals, there was a lady come along, and she was just drifting along, steady little jog, and she was sort of getting down a bit. I said, come on, love, you're doing well. She said, I don't know if I can. I said, yes, you can. I said, when you've done it, you'll think to yourself, wow, I've done that, and you'll feel quite good about it. And that's how it is, isn't it? Like you've just explained.
Yeah.
Exactly the thing.
Richard, I'm really looking forward to running Dover Park Run with you. It'll be excellent, and I'm looking forward to producing the video about it. And
I hope we do all right.
I know, I hope so too. I have a lot of belief in you, and I think either way, like you said, it's about getting across that finish line. I think at your age and the things you're doing, it's so inspiring, and I think that a lot of people will take a lot of inspiration from it. And I just wish you all the best with your running into the future.
That's very nice of you, Harry. Thank you. And I think your podcasts and your videos help people anyway. I mean, the sort of people you have on there, you've got the really good runners, and then you put on other people like myself as well. So it's really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On the Jog On website, thisisjogon.com, you can find the lightweight, durable and eye-catching Jog On running kit. Go see for yourself at thisisjogon.com. I'm Harry Morgan. Go for that run. And this is Jog On.